you really have to stay on top of what's going on, especially in the online space, because things change so fast. What used to work last year doesn't work anymore. So it is very important for you to be paying attention to what's going on, but also be involving your audience. So if you're not asking them, hey, what do you think about this? Hey, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? Would you be interested? You are really missing out on visibility. Welcome to the Empowered Woman Podcast, the #1 show on visibility strategies for women entrepreneurs. If you want to get empowered to be seen, stand out on social media, stages, TV, and more to make an impact with your voice and business, you're in the right place. I'm so glad that you're here. My name is Marcia Spurk, and I'm your host, professional singer and visibility strategist. Welcome again, and let's dive into today's episode. One thing I don't talk about enough is the impact podcasting has had on my professional life and how it opened so many doors for me. So if you want to start a podcast or you want to level up your current one, then you need to work with my podcast strategist, Juliana Barbati. She owns a podcast marketing and production agency, and her team takes care of everything from editing and optimizing to scheduling for you, making this process a breeze for you. She's seriously the best. All her info is in the show notes. You can go to julianabarbati.com and tell her I sent you. Now that I've been in business for over 7 years in the online space and have learned so much about marketing, pricing my offers, setting income goals, and ultimately how to be visible, I want to share with you the top 3 mistakes that I see online business owners making that is keeping them from more visibility. And honestly, mistakes that I have made. That's why I know them. And things that I have changed along the way that have allowed me to be more visible. Mistake number 1, not leveraging multiple channels. This is one thing that I have noticed, especially as in observing my mentors and then in applying this to myself, is that you can't use only one thing. And whoever is telling you that just use one thing, leverage TikTok and you're good to go, or leverage your email list and you're good to go, they're leaving a very important aspect behind or not disclosing it, that you need something else to bring people to that channel and then grow your income and make sales off of that channel. So let me explain what I mean. I have a mentor, for example, that leverages email marketing a lot. He is very upfront about not liking social media, and he really does not leverage social media that much. He will mostly post updates about his family here and there. He'll leverage it for business, and asking people, hey, are you interested? Here's the link, etc. But that is not his main channel, admittedly and clearly and publicly. However, how does he get people to his email list? He leverages ads because he knows very well how to create ads. He worked at an ads agency for a long time, had his own ads agency. And the other thing that he does is that he networks a lot. He networks a lot, especially online, because he is not much of a offline. He's more introverted. So he networks online. He's a part of several different coaching programs, high-level masterminds, and he stands out in those groups because he offers a lot of value. So he says email lists are the way to go, but there are a couple different ways that he gets people in his email list and then he makes sales. Now, there are lots of people that don't really focus on their email list and focused more so on their social media. They have a huge following and they're very consistent with their content, but then they are doing something else to drive people to their social media, whether that be they do a lot of speaking. And so that's how they get people to follow them on social, see their content, and then buy into their offers. And myself, I leverage lots of channels. And that's why they call me Visibility Queen, because I really enjoy it. So it's all about finding what works best for you. Admittedly, I've decided that ads is not the way to go for me. I have tried it several times. And what has worked for me is a combination of having a very solid social media presence. I do leverage my email list, so email marketing as well. I do lots of networking online and offline, and I do a lot of speaking. So whatever it is that you are wanting to focus on, so let's pick, for example, my initial example, TikTok. You're wanting to focus on TikTok. You are going to have to find people to join your TikTok channel to then see your offers and then buy into them. So how are you going to find these people? Usually people that are focusing on TikTok have also a very good presence on Instagram because the platforms are very much connected. Or a podcast. Oh my goodness, I forgot about that. So when I say I leverage speaking, I leverage podcasts. So whoever is telling you, hey, the only thing I do is podcast, I can guarantee you that they're doing something else. Whether it is back in the day leveraging Pinterest. So I know of a coach that says, screw social media, you don't need it, just leverage your podcast. But she has to find leads somewhere. So she used to leverage Pinterest. I know she's running ads now, or just doing lots of networking online as well. Or in her case, not leveraging social media, but she has a very involved Facebook group. So you see what I mean? Whoever is telling you, just do this one thing, read in between the lines, do some more of an investigation. I've had mentors that say, your social media content is all you need. Just write really, really good copy and you're good to go. But they were also doing lots of networking in paid programs, right? Whenever you're showing up fully and being very strategic about how you're showing up in paid programs, especially high-level programs, you will get clients out of that because the more visible you are, the more people start looking into your stuff and stalking you and falling in love with you and then buying into your stuff. So if you're not leveraging more than one channel, I would say at least two because one feeds the other with leads. You see what I mean? Then that is a big mistake. And that's why you are keeping yourself from being visible. So that's number one. Number two goes hand in hand with what I was saying earlier. It's not having a plan. So I always say this to my clients. Do you know what you're doing next week? Do you know what you're doing the week after that? And it doesn't mean that you have to have the hour planned, down to the minute planned, but have a general idea. And this will go based on personality types. And that's why I'm so big on the Enneagram and all kinds of personality assessments and frameworks, because people are going to resonate with different strategies. I am admittedly not the spreadsheet gal, but there are so many people that thrive off of spreadsheets and couldn't live without them. So find what works for you. If that means that you're going to plan your entire month, day to day, and batch, I know I have clients of mine that are like, I'm going to set aside 3 hours on a Sunday and I'm going to batch and I'm going to create all these outlines and stuff. Awesome. The thing is, you have to find what works for you. And this may change with time. And by saying find what works for you, I mean you have to experiment, right? So you're going to maybe take 3 hours on a Sunday and then realize this sucks. I don't want to do this ever again. Or maybe you will do that for a whole month and then realize I don't want to do this. So by finding what works for you, I mean you have to start doing something and then adjusting as you go. But have a plan of, and the easiest way really is to work around the holidays, right? So we have Valentine's Day coming up. What is an offer that you can put together for Valentine's Day? Whether that be a paid offer or maybe a free challenge, a free workshop that leads into a paid offer, but you need to plan these things ahead. Why? Because you need to give yourself time to promote each of the things. So if you're going to do a free workshop, you could just decide to do one tomorrow, but the probability of a bunch of people joining tomorrow is not that great. I always use this as an example as well. You are not Tony Robbins. If Tony Robbins says, surprise, I'm hosting a workshop tomorrow, thousands of people are going to show up probably because he has a huge following. And unfortunately, that's not the case for most of us, but that's okay because we're building up to that, right? We're growing. So give yourself enough time and reverse engineer. So if you're wanting to launch something, I don't know, early March, that means you need to give yourself at least 2 weeks to promote that thing. So start creating your plan, right, at least 2 weeks before to start talking about the offer that is launching in March. So this is a huge mistake that I have made and that I see lots of entrepreneurs making is not giving yourself enough time. And that's where the plan comes in. The plan comes in so that you have time to get your stuff together to promote and so that people have enough time to see what you're doing and then want to jump on. The more times that they see something, the more they understand the benefits. And the more honestly they're convinced, hey, I was busy, I opened your post and I was going to register for your class, but then my kid screamed or whatever. I've been seeing lots of memes these days that say, the reason why I didn't respond to your text is because I opened it at a stoplight, driving my kids somewhere to some kind of extracurricular activity. And then I completely forgot until 4 months later when I thought about you and I went to message you and I realized I never responded. So this happens with our audience a lot. So don't take it personally and be prepared. So have a plan. If you don't know what the next thing you're launching or what the next thing you're offering is, or what you're doing in the next couple of weeks, sit down, take some time. And again, I will go back to find what works for you. And this means experiment for a while and then decide if it's something you enjoy doing and if it's something your audience responds to. So if it is, I'm going to sit and I'm going to plan the next 2 weeks, do that. And if you don't think that's enough time for you, then back to the same thing that I said before, plan the whole month ahead. I love at the beginning of the year or later in the year to think about my whole year. What am I doing January, February, March? And then by the time I get to March, my plans probably shifted a little bit, and that's okay. So I'll work with that, but at least have something to look forward to and something in mind. And that's when you open yourself up for collaboration. So I'm gearing up to doing a collaboration with one of my friends as well. And this is something we started talking about, I think maybe back in December or early January, and we're planning ahead. That's what I mean. You have to have a plan. And that is going to allow you to be more visible, especially as you're leveraging multiple channels like I talked about in my mistake number 1. So that's mistake number 2, is not having a plan. So go on and have a plan. Let me stop you right here and remind you about my free resource with 30 plus visibility ideas to expand your reach today. Get visible right now. Just go to marchesburg.com/visibility and download and access instantly my 30 plus visibility ideas guide to get you going, man. Get on out there, get on social media, get to speaking and get to networking to really make your brand and your business known. And now, last but not least, mistake number 3 is not surveying your audience, aka not doing market research, aka not involving your audience in the process of content creation and offer creation. So it's never too early to talk about an upcoming offer and to really tease it like saying, I am thinking about doing something. Is this interesting to you? Because you're doing 2 things when you involve your audience in the process of something that you're creating. First of all, you're getting their input. So that may give you some ideas. And for those of you that love human design, I really thrive on that because I'm a generator. So I respond to what people put out there. So that really helps me. And I also have an open hand, which means I take inspiration from outside of myself. So sometimes I will have a plan for something because I created my plan. I'm not making that mistake anymore. And then somebody in my audience says something, or I'm paying close attention to conversations I'm having, and a new idea will pop in my head. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is what people are resonating with. So I'm going to shift and I'm going to add this aspect to my offer or whatever it may be. I'm always paying attention to what people are saying. So it is very important that you watch for trends, really pay attention to the language that your target audience is using so that you can be up to date with their needs and with what's going on. Not only that, but also that's promotion. That's already promotion. So I'm telling you, you need to give it yourself at least 2 weeks before you launch something or to get people on board with something. When you say, hey, I'm thinking about doing something, guess what? That's already promotion. They don't know what it is, but they are already paying attention and looking forward to something because you put it out there. So involving your audience and market research in a strategic way really is very smart marketing. And also because things change so fast. I actually saw a post not too long ago that said, especially for business coaches, if you help people make money online or have anything to do with their business, whether it be marketing strategist, business coach, whatever it may be, you really have to stay on top of what's going on, especially in the online space, because things change so fast. What used to work last year doesn't work anymore. So it is very important for you to be paying attention to what's going on, but also be involving your audience. So if you're not asking them, hey, what do you think about this? Hey, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? Would you be interested? You are really missing out on visibility. See what I mean? And this goes back to also having a plan. So they all overlap and they're all interconnected. But these are the 3 main things that I notice people not doing is all of a sudden say, I'm launching this, and then pouting that not many people signed up. You didn't give them enough time. You didn't ask them if they liked it. So that's not to say that you're going to change your entire course because one person popped in your comments and said, hey, I don't think that's a good idea, or I wouldn't be interested. It's obviously being smart about it. I always say, ask your audience. Even if you already have a plan and you're not going to change what you're going to do, that's already marketing. But you may get really good insight because you asked. So it's just smart to ask. And that's why market research has been a thing that's been around for years, right? But with social media nowadays, market research, quote unquote, has changed a little bit. It could be as easily as you sending a mass email to your list and saying, I'm thinking about doing this. Would you be interested? You're already queuing something. And somebody may respond. And this is actually one of the main ways to wake up your email list if they've been kind of sleepy. And mostly because you haven't been putting content out there and you haven't been emailing them very often. A great way to get responses is to ask questions. Oh, imagine that, right? So if you send an email to your list with 2 lines. If I put together a class on X, Y, and Z, would you show up? And especially if you say, if I put together a free class, watch how many people are going to respond. And this is already telling you that the topic is valid. Or even saying, I'm thinking about creating a class. What are some of the main things that you're worried about? And give them some options, because sometimes people are not just going to freely answer, this is my main concern, this is what's keeping me up at night. Give them at least 3 options. Say, are you worried about your sleep? Are you worried about eating too much sugar? Or give them some 3 ideas based on your niche and see what they say. And that's what I mean by maybe somebody will respond and say, hey, it's none of these 3, but here's what I'm thinking about, or this is what is really getting to me these days. And that may be the very thing that you're like, oh my gosh, I should have thought of this sooner. You see what I'm saying? So it is smart to involve your audience, to ask them questions, to survey them, and to be really on point with market research. And I'm just going to say this, it does not mean that you need to take a bunch of free calls with a bunch of people, because the traditional market research used to mean put up a calendar link on social media. I mean, the traditional on social media, and say, I would love to talk to you and understand your issues if you are in this demographic. Book a 20-minute, 15-minute call with me. You could do that because that is building relationship. That is also networking, but you don't have to do that if that's not your thing. And you could do that once a year or twice a year. It doesn't have to be something that every month you're asking people to come and have calls with you. You could easily send an email, like I said, or put up a post on social media. So the name of the game really is experimentation. And this is my main answer to all of my clients' questions when they come to me. And now I am turning into my mentors. When I used to want them to just give me a freaking straight answer, they'd ask me a question. And that's good coaching, by the way, helping you figure it out on your own by reflecting back to you. But anyways, my main answer now when they ask me a question is try it out and see what happens. And that's really what it is. So try it out and see what happens when it comes to what are the 2 channels that you're going to be leveraging, or more than 2 channels, to feed your pipeline, right? To feed your funnel, as they say. What is the strategy, the experimentation that you're going to run with creating a plan for your content, for your launching, for your offers? And then finally, what are you going to try when it comes to surveying your audience and involving them in your business and in your offers and in your launching? Make sure you're doing these 3 things, because if at least one of them you're falling short, this is the perfect moment for you to be like, all right, let me focus on this thing. Or if you're not doing any of the 3, then this is the very reason why you're not being as visible as you could. And man, it's 2024. There are so many opportunities for you to get to know people. And I say this, especially with the huge boom that I am experiencing with my music career. I was preparing some slides for a presentation that I'm going to have to make about myself. So this is a little bit different. In one of the networking groups that I'm a part of, there is a 10-minute segment in one of the meetings where it's called Member in the Spotlight. And you have 10 minutes to talk about yourself. You can plan for like 10 slides. And usually people talk about their families, their upbringing. And I have a slide on there that talks about my musical journey. And I'm so excited because I'll get to share more of this in the future. I'm actually a part of a collaboration book, and I'm going to be writing a chapter about my musical evolution. But anyways, my whole specific as a grown-up, taking this seriously, not me as a teenager singing in church and all, this whole music career thing started in 2020. So it's been a little over 3 years. That is not that much time, especially when you factor in me building a business for 7 years. I am amazed at how fast things are progressing, but I know why. Because I know so much more about visibility than I did before. So this thing is for real. And the reason why I mention this is because we're in 2024 and being visible is easier than ever because of technology and because of social media. So me collaborating with musicians, people finding me, recommending me to sing the national anthem in different events, this is all happening because I've made myself known, yes, over the last 7 years, but also because it's so much easier nowadays to talk about things that you're doing and to rally people. So take that to your advantage, use that to your advantage to grow your business. There is no reason why you are a secret. You remain a best kept secret. What is something that somebody said the other day? You can't sell a secret. Oh my gosh. My friend, this is my parting message for you. You cannot sell a secret. So if you and your business are a secret, guess what? No one can buy it. No one can invest in it, right? So leverage different channels for your visibility. That's number one. Have a plan. That's number two. And make sure you involve your audience. That's number three. Thanks so much for tuning in today. I hope this episode empowered you. And if you enjoyed the show, please join the Empowered Woman community on Facebook and share with friends or leave a review on iTunes so more people can discover this empowering message. Until next time, bye.